We're stepping over the threshold of creating real change within our lives. Whilst it might feel like there is a lot to doubt and in some ways a lot to be afraid of, we're also seeing the glimmers of promise, of change, of transformation, both within our personal lives and within the global stage. But it can't take away from the intensity of the energy of conflict and polarity that we're seeing right now. So for those of you who haven't met me before, hello, my name is Anna. I work under the name Alchemist of the Arts. I'm an artist. I also do wood carving. I create videos such as these, focused on spiritual growth and self-awareness. And I also share readings and all kinds of things. So in this video, we're going to be looking at the energy of the current moment, leading on from the 4th of August's new moon, building up through the Mercury retrograde that we're having, all of the other celestial movements, and what we might be feeling and experiencing within the collective. So the first energy that we cannot ignore at this time is the intensity of the level of conflict in all ways, and the inclination to be pulled one way or the other. I'm not going to focus on any particular topics here because this is a theme and an energy that is rippling out across the world, across all of our personal lives, and it's something that we can be mindful of. I'm repeatedly reminded of the power of our presence and the power of our attention and where we allow that to go. And it's not to say that these causes aren't worthy of our attention, but the ways in which we respond to them are really, really important at this time. There is real power behind some of the movements that are being seen, and the way that power can be wielded in very destructive ways. And when you have an energy of intense conflict on one seeming side of an opinion, a situation, and it is met with the equal oppositional energy, it's still the same energy, just polarized. And when that meets, it becomes very, very chaotic. Now, I'm a firm believer that there is always a peaceful way to find a resolution. However, I think at the moment we just need to be very conscious of the way we are personally directing our energy and what we are investing that into. Some examples of things that we might need to remove our energy and intention from are perhaps certain apps, platforms, social media practices. It could be particular groups of people. And again, this can be from a place of self-preservation in order to not fan the flames of a fire that is already burning. To be a conscious part of trying to find solutions in a way that doesn't resort to needing to be drawn into one of these polarities and just fuel fires. I think there is always a way to find resolution, but in order to be able to find resolution, we need to be able to be in a different energy. And one of the most powerful things we can do is to come away from things that might be causing triggers or aggravations or putting us in a position where there is that intensity to be wanting to be, stood and counted in a particular side or in a particular direction, and to really come back to recognizing that a majority of the individuals on this planet are not the people making decisions at a very, very high level. And it is a very small minority of people at a very, very high level that make decisions that impact others. What we have in the middle is all of this conjecture that goes on about who's right and who's wrong, none of which actually changes any of those decisions at the higher levels. But it does cause us to infight, for want of a better word, and forget our humanity to one another, to forget about some of those common goals that we have as humans. And I, for one, know that I've just had to withdraw my energy from certain things, because that in itself, just the act of even seeing and bearing witness to some of the conflicts that are going on, even if we're not engaging in them, is enough to pull my attention and focus away from what I can do in a meaningful way to be the best person that I can be within my life and show up in the ways that I need to. And I think this is one of the big things that all of us can be mindful of at this time, is how we can be the best version of ourselves to show up for our families, for our friends, for our communities, whether they are in person or online. How we can be a better human towards the other humans on this planet, and to remember the commonality of humanity that does connect us all. I appreciate this is a very difficult topic, but in order not to escalate that conflict, this has been the best spiritual solution, for want of a better word, that I've found. And it's not to turn a blind eye, but like I said, not to engage in activities that escalate that conflict. So on a personal level, what we perhaps need to do is look at the things that are causing this chaos and disruption in our own lives, whether this is something that creates conflict and creates friction. And we'll probably become aware of some very repeating patterns that we might run out, and actually a tendency to have slipped back into some past patterns that could then be restarting new cycles of past behaviors or past experiences. And the problem with these, and this is one of the biggest works we do as individuals on ourselves, is that when we slip back into one of those old patterns, or it can be, and I want to emphasize, this can be a brand new cycle of a pattern in a brand new situation, brand new people, but because that pattern remains until we've really consciously, caught it and worked on it in the present moment, is that we can go into seemingly brand new situations and fresh energies and just play out the same patterns because they feel so familiar. There is a familiarity that goes undetected. If you go into a new situation and you have a sudden very jarring experience, or perhaps a very positive experience, we register it because it's something that we haven't become very familiar with. When you experience something that is very familiar, you get into a groove, it becomes a level of normal, you become desensitized to registering it. So there is a very conscious need right now for us to be aware of some of those patterns, for where we have perhaps slipped into old patterns. And again, this isn't to make anybody else wrong. I don't think we can blame other people for us slipping into patterns if we've put ourselves in a position where we're there. It's not, there's a phrase that I love, and it's not my fault, but it's my responsibility. And it's something that I personally say to myself to approach some of these difficult situations, themes, experiences, personal patterns. This can be stuff that we've had since childhood, can be stuff that we've learned intergenerationally. Why was that so hard for me to say? It can be things that we've learned and just adopted, and then it comes to us in our level of consciousness within this lifetime to decide how we're going to work on those. So there very much could be things, and there are things that we can do to kind of be more neutral within some of these very high intensity environments. And you would be amazed that sometimes how leaving, it doesn't require us to leave an environment completely. Sometimes it does, and sometimes that's very much warranted. But sometimes there is enough of a shift within us, having recognized a pattern, being able to overcome that pattern, and then systematically train ourselves to respond in a different way. And this is hard and it takes time, but it's possible. We recondition ourselves to behave in a way, or respond in a way, or react, or process, or create in a way that is better, not just for us, but the people around us. And we have the ability to break those patterns and then model that for others who can then go forward and break those patterns. But also when we're engaging with other people, sometimes within certain situations, that shift is enough to cause a ripple effect that is beneficial to the many. And, when it comes to that can be very behavioral. It can be very energetic as well. So within this, we have a power to shift through our behavior and through modeling, but also through our energy and being able to explore other different ways of energetic expression. So it's a very, very interesting time. And I think that was the first big message that wanted to come through. The second big message that wanted to come through was this the theme of new beginnings and catalysts. Now we are at the moment, we have just gone into Mercury retrograde, which coincided with the new moon in Leo. So we have this Mercury retrograde, which feels like it's going to be bringing flashes, visions, inspiration from the past, and also brand new ways of doing things, which might literally cause a shake-up in our lives. And whilst this can feel somewhat intimidating sometimes, it also gives us the opportunity, again, working with those patterns or those themes that might be coming up, to find new ways, to break through some of the barriers that have perhaps held us back before. But what we're doing is, as this inspiration comes in, I think there is an expectation now within, our generations, that things can happen so quickly and so instantly. Sometimes the work is in taking time to apply, to invest within ourselves, within what it is we're building and creating. And a big part of that, as I've touched on before, which has been a progressive theme through the course of this year, is to rebuild and work upon the foundations of ourselves, of our lives, and everything that we're building upon it. Now, this is really, really important, because that foundation, if we allow things within that we know are not what we want to build and create in the future, it can be a weakness, or it can be something that we might have to look at another time. And I don't believe in a sense of perfection, but in this moment, the things that perhaps have been undermining our foundation could very much be coming to the surface. And we're being given the opportunity to kind of clear out, while simultaneously getting fresh ideas and fresh energy. And if you think about a space, a room, for example, you only have so much physical capacity. And if that is cluttered, if it's, behind me, this is my work shed. If it's cluttered, if there is lots of stuff in there already, it's hard to find the room for those new things. So there could be very much a sense of clear out. You could be very inspired within breaking some of these patterns and cycles, to make some of these changes, to clear out some of the old. And in that energy, in that same breath, in that kind of like, if that's the out breath, it's like, okay, let's clear this away, let's get this done. On that in breath, we are receiving inspiration, guidance. There might be catalysts that create some of these changes, and then we can create anew. Then there is the physical space, the physical capacity, the energy, the potential, the clear soil, whatever metaphor you want to use, to actually have the energy to invest into something new. So I think this time is very, very important for pulling energy away from the things that perhaps are becoming distractions, or diverting our precious life force energy, and instead really focusing on how we can create improvements within our lives, and the things that we can do to help to nurture and to grow. Some ways that we can really help ourselves in this process is to perhaps spend more time in nature, maybe spend more time in meditation, maybe giving ourselves the space to do journaling or automatic writing, and to really allow ourselves to reconnect with the spaces that have perhaps been distracted, that perhaps have been too busy. I think it's so important, especially through the summer months here in the Northern Hemisphere, that we get out and are able to appreciate, the rawness of nature, the connection with nature, and just how grounding that can be. And it's something I personally have been trying to make the most of as often as I can It is, you know, I know when people say like nature is my church, I very much feel that when I'm out in those wild spaces. You feel yourself come back to yourself, and then suddenly a lot of these distractions, the interference, the confusion, or you know, the chaos of the mind even um, starts to peel away, and you begin to reconnect. So whilst Mercury retrograde can be and is typically well known for causing disruption, you know, you hear a lot of people say, oh, exes come back from the past. Yeah, you know, those things can happen. But also we get this return of energy. And I really feel like this is a time where we can begin to invest energy into what it is that we're going to create. And it might not be something that magically pops up overnight or is magically created overnight, but really taking some time to focus on what we would change if we could, and then beginning to see how there are things probably within our lives, within our experience, whether it is just an app on our phone or whether it is people or a situation or a job, you know, whatever it is for you as an individual, it will be different for us all, how that is influencing us, how that is causing us to be perhaps on path A when really we want to be on path B. And again, these are very, very literal, unnuanced examples. So whatever we experience on a personal level, there is an unfolding, a peeling back, a stripping away, which in some ways might be uncomfortable, maybe a bit unpleasant, and it might be painful if we have to let things go. Sometimes that's part of our process. And if that isn't part of your lived experience, then that's absolutely okay. But for many of us, we go through these cycles, and that very much is our lived experience. But on the other side of that, like I said before, is this new capacity for growth, for birthing new ideas into reality. And I think that's a space and an energy that very much needs to be on the earth at this time. So I'm going to go and do some runes for you. Let's see what comes through. This one, whatever it is. Ingvars, absolutely. This is that energy of creation, the energy of new seeds, of potential, of fertility. This is getting those ideas, having those moments of inspiration and clarity. It's seeing them, recognizing them as the potential energy that they are. Any seed is literally like a bundle of potential energy encoded in a genetic blueprint that then needs certain conditions in order to grow. Within this here, we have the energy of potential, of a blueprint that probably exists within us. Maybe it's our destined blueprint that we can activate and access. And maybe clearing away some of these past conditions or preconceptions is exactly what we need in order to be able to unlock some of this potential energy within us. So very, very interesting to see. And I would say, you know, if you keep a diary or you journal or you don't, you know, maybe this would be a really exciting time to even just track some of those ideas and inspirations that come to you, to track some of the wisdom, the clarity of your own voice that sometimes we just take for granted, you know. Often we can be, our brain power is immense as individuals and as humans. We're just thinking and often generate so many ideas that we don't even register. So maybe having a book or something that you can just write this down, or even just jotting them down in the notes section of your phone or something like that, making that a practice. And in a month's time or in a few weeks' time, going back and just seeing the types of things, whether it's something like, I would really love to do this, I would love to visit this place, or I would love to have that experience. Start writing them down, start keeping a note of them. And once you pull your attention and your energy onto that, that will be amplified. You're adding energy to that potential. So it's going to grow. Let's get Two more. Another one. We have Savilo. And again, this is that energy of catalysts, of inspiration. Now, for me, with every single one of the runes, there is a duality. There is a dual meaning. We can have a very polarized experience of every individual rune. And when we embody them and work with them in that way as symbols that can represent particular life experiences or how to navigate them, overcome them, they're very, very powerful indeed. Now, to me, Savilo energy is the catalyst, is the inspiration, is that moment that creates and triggers change or awareness or ideas. So, you know, like a lightning strike, a bolt out of the blue, you might find that you have those moments. And again, I'm just going to sum up my other message. You know, take note of them, write them down, but also with Savilo, we have the energy of the sun, the energy of the sun that can come in, that can energize. We do have the Lionsgate portal on the 8/8, which can bring in a lot of fresh energy and ideas in itself. You know, if you are on that wavelength, it can bring in a lot of solar coding and energy that can really help with our own processes of transformation. But again, within that, you know, we have the reinvigorating energy of the sun that is very, very necessary for the growth of all things. So, on a metaphorical level, we're calling that sun energy in to add energy to these seeds, these ideas, the potential, that raw blueprint, and nurturing it so it will grow. So, it's something to be conscious of and to make sure that we allow that time for connection to be in receiving mode, whatever that means for you, because for some it literally is just going out for a walk in nature, and then, you know, you are just at a completely different wavelength in life. We'll get one more. Okay, we've got two that wanted to come out together. We have Manas, and we have Lagus, and I love this. This is I've dropped it. Self-centered healing. So for me, Manas and Lagus coming out together would be very much focusing on the healing that we can bring. Again, focusing on the healing that we need to do on ourselves, the transformation, where we need to surrender certain experiences or situations to allow them to change. Now, the way that's coming through to me, because I appreciate that can sound like a really wishy-washy sort of broad term statement. Sometimes we need to step away from a situation, especially if it involves others. And again, it comes back to this conflict energy. So if this is potential conflict closer to home, or even in a conflict, doesn't have to involve anyone else in this transformation and healing process. There could be inner conflict. It can be necessary sometimes to step away from a situation, to withdraw energy from it in a particular way. Sometimes, you know, it's if you're painting, if you're writing, if you were doing something in a particular energy, and then there is that energy of frustration or in a conflict that comes across, in that energy, the creativity can find it hard to surface. And sometimes you have to take a step away, break away from that energy, clear it. And that sounds really grandiose, but sometimes that's, again, just going for a walk or just having your own personal practice to shift things up a little bit in order to be able to step into something new. When you return to that situation, it's very different, or you're having a different experience of it, which goes back to the earlier message of being able to be in a different energy ourselves, even within the same situations, in order to have a very different experience, and not just for ourselves, but for everybody. Manas is the rune of mankind, and I think this is asking us to be conscious of the role that we play. I'm very aware that it's on its side. That's the way it came out, and I will honor that. Lagus, so I've dropped it, came out in the upright. So to me, those two together you know, this is reminding us of humanity, of humility, of that which connects us. And interestingly, Lagus is the rune of water, connected to water and to flow. There is a metaphor, it's not even a metaphor, but if you think of the water on the planet, all of the water in existence goes through this incredible process of transformation. It cycles through each human, each animal, each mountain, rock, tree. It is literally a part of everything, and all of us are a part of it. Within that water, you know, we are all connected. So there is this sense of flow and of life force that is shared through all of us. And I think it's really important to remember that which connects, and also how we can bring energy of healing by being able to nurture our relationships, to heal ourselves. And I was trying not to say heal ourselves, because I think sometimes that places a lot of emphasis or even ego into that we can save other people, and it's not meant in that way at all. But by being the best version of ourselves, we create space for others to do the same. So I'm going to leave this here for you. If you've made it to the end of this video, then I am truly grateful. This is the third time I filmed this video over the last week, and it's just been that each time I sit down to film, there are interruptions, and then trying to edit it together is just really complex, and I do not have the resource of time to do that at the moment. So third time's the charm. Hopefully this will be the one that makes it onto YouTube. I will show up and be as present as I can at this time with the content that I can, but I am, like I said before, in the process of creating changes in the way that I do things and the kinds of things that I share. So I will update you with those as soon as I can. So sending you all my love, and thank you so much for spending your time with me. I will speak to you again really, really soon.